we as a society, we dropped the ball, and we are going to have a corrupt generation. Now, it's not because all young people are corrupt. We also have, if I've been meeting a lot of Jewish high school students and college students, and they are way more incredible than any of me and my colleagues have been at their age. So we also have an amazing Jewish generation coming up. But yeah, the people that have closed their hearts to October 7th will never reopen them. There's nothing you or Seth or I can do to go to someone who saw the images of October 7th and said, you know what, I don't care. There's nothing you can do to go and say, I'm going to change your mind. I'm going to make you care. So I am not even focusing on that. I am focusing on making sure that the vast majority of society here in the US, wherever people are, understand that this is evil and this is wrong. And if we don't stop this now, it will be too late. That's my concern. One thing that Theo said in the beginning that I kind of take issue with. We don't hide the fact from Jews, from non-Jews and from Jews. You got the one Israeli that doesn't have an answer to every question.
The Jew saw them all, beat them all, and is now what he always was. All things are mortal but the Jew. All other forces pass, but he remains. What is the secret of his immortality?
Welcome to the Jew Function. I'm Leo.
Hello, I'm Seth.
And we're talking. What are we talking about, Seth? Remind me, jog my memory.
Okay, so there's a group of people. Something's strange about them because there's like a different whole other standard of how that group of people is judged versus all the other groups of people. And it's been going on for a very long time, almost in a predictable way. And we need to figure out what it's all about, because humanity itself, it's like a stumbling block before humanity. Humanity can't live with them, can't live without them, kind of thing. Like if they can't figure it out, it also slows down humanity's goals that they want to achieve. And it's also very bad for that small group also, because they keep being almost obliterated, and they have to start all over again, and then almost obliterated and start all over again. So it's not really good. It's not really good for anyone if we keep going on this laissez-faire approach.
I was just reminded. I sent someone that video I did about the Hubs and Nodes, where we say, if they if you don't figure it out, it's gonna trigger a violent self-defense reaction. It's gonna destabilize the whole world. The whole never again thing. And I'm like, I shudder every time that I think about that line. It was so prophetic, because in a way I feel like, in a way, it's like that's what we're a part of right now. I mean, it's this, this constant, should Jews defend themselves? Do they have a right for self-defense or not? Do we need the approval of the world or not? Why is it that we have this weird relationship with the world? Everybody's doing whatever the F they want, and we're somehow stuck in a parallel loop right next to the rest of, South Africa is taking Israel to court about war crimes and genocide, and Biden is telling Netanyahu that he's not doing enough to protect people in the north, and like all kinds of weird things. Like nobody, meanwhile Kim Jong-un is like, he's building villages for cowboys and Indians, and reenactment of westerns while amassing nuclear weapons. That's okay, that's normal, right? It's like it doesn't make sense, it doesn't add up, and yet there's so many patterns. Like it's been happening over and over and over again. You think that we know what to do, but we sort of don't exactly. However, there is one silver lining to this whole thing, and that is that I think since October 7th we've seen a lot of people waking up at least to the fact that something is off. First of all, about the relationship between the world and Israel. That's new, because before that, like anti-Semit, what anti-Semitism? What are you talking about, right? It wasn't really a thing, and now people are sensitive to it. People are doing immense, they're putting in immense efforts at trying to talk to people about it, Noah Tishby is doing amazing work, trying to talk about Israel in a positive way. And this Sam Addis that was on our show when you were sick that day, not sick, I'm sorry, when you're flying, doing college skipping, right? She was also, she called herself an accidental activist. How she just kind of got pulled into the fray, and then having to defend herself and her right to exist and her tradition, and sort of make excuses for her for the country of which she's not even a citizen of. It's like, it's weird, and yet somehow it's all coming together. And today we also have a guest that's a little bit of an accidental activist, but I don't know. Do you have any other thoughts before we introduce him? Because
no. Let's talk to.
Okay, so because I'm really anxious to bring him on. It hasn't been working very well. I've been starting to introduce people, and they would jump in midway. So, but hopefully he's more patient. But he's an Israeli. He studies in Columbia. I think he's an assistant professor.
He's a professor.
Oh, he's an assistant professor. I think that also means that you're studying, right?
Hold on.
He will tell us.
Correctly.
He will tell us. He will tell us. He's an assistant professor at Columbia Business School, and he says, and he's now he became famous, if you will, for a video he put out right a few days after the October 7th.
Yep, I remember. I saw it.
Yeah, maybe we'll watch it, because I think there's a few minutes in the middle of it that are really sort of powerful. And now I think that some of the backlash. I
saw it on X.
Right.
Or Twitter.
And some of the backlash from that, and following that, all the investigation into pro-Palestinian, excessive, DEI policies weirdly implemented, and all that stuff. So we saw a lot of directors losing their jobs, but also registration, right, for these Ivy League schools dropping. Also, number of Jews going there is dropping. So all that has been happening in the last few months. It's very interesting, and I think he's also being maybe investigated or sued. I don't know. He'll clarify it by the university on the things that he was saying about their their policy toward anti-Israel protests on campus. So I'm really happy to invite Shai Davidai to join us. Shai, please.
I was patient. You see how that's the most patient you'll get from me.
That's good. Yeah, we had a feeling. We could feel like you're.
I'll tell you one thing. I love the phrase accidental activist, but I've been referring to myself as the reluctant activist.
Why?
For many, many weeks, when everything started, when the video went viral, I had an internal struggle with myself. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be the face of this struggle. I don't want to spend I don't want to ruin my life and my career. But at the same time, it was like, this is bigger than any individual. This is bigger than myself. This is bigger than any one of us. And I have a responsibility, right? So it really was like, I was going through this internal struggle of like, do I keep speaking up? Do I keep fighting? Do I just let go? And I just realized at some point I decided like, I have to. Even if I don't want to, I have to. So that's kind of like, now
when you were on the lawn there, or on the thing, saying like what you were saying, like who were you speaking to? Like where were you imagining all those words landing?
It was less about who am I speaking to and more about this needs to be said, right? I theoretically, I wanted everyone to hear. And, and I called that, when I uploaded online, I called it an open letter to every parent in America. But really, it was just like, I was feeling this immense, immense pain. And I just felt like this needs to be stated. This needs to be shouted. And unbeknownst to me, I was just tapping onto some collective pain that others were feeling. And I keep telling this to people, there's nothing unique about me. There's nothing special about me. There's no one in the world should care about who I am. Like Shai Davidai is a no one, not in a like just like Seth is no one, Leo is no, like I'm just a no one. But for some reason I was able to tap onto our communal pain, and that is what people resonated with. And
who are the other people who are who resonate with you? Like, who are the people connecting with you, and what are they? What's the common kind of frequency between all the people who are connecting into this?
so I think in concentric circles, it's, you know, first of all, Israeli Jews. Second is like the bigger Jewish diaspora, the Jewish world. And then the third is non-Jews that all of a sudden got a front stage, a front seat to the stage to see what's happening on campuses. Like just concerned Americans, concerned Europeans. I got a message that first night when I put that video on. One of the first emails I got was from someone in New Zealand. And he starts like, I'm not Jewish, I'm from New Zealand, but we have the same problem. Thank you so much. And I remember telling my wife here then, like, this is weird. Like, why would someone in New Zealand, I mean, I understand that the hour differences, why they would write now, but why would they write at all? And because I didn't realize yet that this is something bigger than me, this is something bigger than Israel or Jewish people. So it just touched a lot of people.
You I want to play a few minutes from that with your permission. It's been like what, almost 6 months, right? It's not, I think today is 180 days for these,
yeah, I think so.
for these people.
I'll be honest with you. I try not to watch that video.
I had a feeling you'd say that, but I want to ask you if you watch a few minutes of it with us, because I want to awaken some of these things, and also for people to have context for it, because I don't know if everybody will watch it after the show, after the fact. So just a few minutes. I think it's powerful, and I think it will help us frame some of our discussion, because you say, I'm not even seeing it on your page, it's someone else's page, and it says the headline is, "I'm not afraid to speak up. I'm speaking up because I'm afraid." And so it was really, it was really gripping. So, you can turn the volume down if you don't.
I'll turn it down a bit because no one can hear me scream.
All right. So hang on a second. Let's do this. Let's share sound. Okay. You see it, right? Let me play it.
Introduce myself. My name is Shai Davidai. I am a professor at Columbia Business School. I am Israeli. But before all of that, I am a dad. I have 2 beautiful children. And I'm talking to you, I'm speaking to you as a dad. And I want you to know, we cannot protect your children from pro-terror student organizations, because the president of Columbia University will not speak out against pro-terror student organizations, because the president of Harvard University, because the president of Stanford, because the president of Berkeley, they will not speak out against pro-terror student organizations. Last Saturday, 14 U.S. citizens were kidnapped into Gaza with 200 other Israeli, French, German, and other nationalities. 14 citizens of the U.S. are right now kidnapped in Gaza. And yet the president of the university is giving her support to pro-terror student organizations. I have an amazing 7-year-old son. Every night before I tuck him to sleep, we read a chapter of Harry Potter. And yet, to the students, to the pro-terror student organizations at Columbia, my 7-year-old son is a legitimate target of resistance just because he's Israeli. I have a 2-year-old daughter, a feisty 2-year-old daughter. She has 2 songs that are her favorite, Baby Shark and Shake It Off by Taylor Swift. And yet, to the pro-terror student organizations on campus here and at Harvard and at NYU and at Stanford and at Berkeley and at Northwestern, my 2-year-old daughter is a legitimate target of resistance. That is what they are selling. You are allowed to murder and kidnap my 2-year-old daughter in the name of resistance. And none of the presidents of universities all around the country are willing to take a stand. This is what cowards do. And I'll name it now. President Minouche Shafik of Columbia University, you are a coward. Because if President Biden can come up and say, no, this is unacceptable, this is inhumane, and if Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City, is able to say, this is not okay, then where are you, President Shafik of Columbia University? We are waiting for you to eradicate all pro-terror student organizations from campus. Last week, we had thousands of students chanting pro-terror songs that are sung right now in Iraq, in Libya, in Yemen, in Afghanistan. They were singing this not in Gaza, not in Afghanistan, here in New York City. And this is the school that you want to send your children to? They were celebrating the rape of teenage girls in a music festival in the name of resistance. They were celebrating this. And the president of the university is allowing these pro-terror student organizations to march on our campuses. They brought a building here of the Center for Jewish Life had to go on lockdown. Not in Gaza, not in Tel Aviv, here in New York City. Because of this this cowardice of the presidents of NYU, of Columbia, of Harvard.
You know,
To watch, I told you. It actually becomes harder to watch with time because, well, the rawness, the how raw it was like raw for all of us in the beginning, and I hope I will never experience that raw pain again. But it becomes more difficult to watch when you realize that nothing has been done.
I think that's the crazy part for us as well, because we've been we've been talking about it years before. I don't want to say anticipating it, but talking about this.
Anticipating
Okay, anticipating something.
We didn't know how.
Yeah,
but we figured.
Yeah, our research was very specific. Jewish disunity leads always to calamity. Period. What form it takes, what's the narrative? I don't know. You could foresee it, but not exactly in that way. I'm positive, by the way, that if we were more, involved with politics, military literature, all that, we would probably point, because there were some people who actually painted that picture specifically, but that's not the point. The point is that there's two things that come to mind. One is what you were just saying, that how so it's so easy to go back to almost, okay, that too happened, and yet here we are 180 days afterwards. You still have over 100 people hostages. You still have a war going on the ground. Nothing is even close to being.
I can't remember at all. I'm not a big news guy, but I can't remember really hearing almost anything about U.S. citizens being held hostage. Like, it's silence.
There still are. So
on the news, like,
I think there's 3 or 4 U.S. citizens that are still being held hostage for 6 months. Let's say you hate Israel so much, you hate the Jews and you hate Israel so much with a vengeance. Do you hate them so much that do you hate us so much that you will rather see US citizens killed in captivity just to score your points for your hatred? I just don't understand it.
The other point that which relates to that, is this something that's really incomprehensible. You say, you know, that you had to, many others, but that you had to go up there and say, the mayor of New York said it's not okay. Like, as if, in what environment do we live that someone actually needs to sort of officially come out and say that what happened is not okay? Like, that there's a question, there is a doubt, there are opinions, right? There are differing views, context,
on the
right?
context.
Yeah. How did we get to that point, really? And I don't know if you gave that any thought. I'm curious to know if you. I'm still trying to stay with with the emotion of that and the feeling of that. But, like, did you
Yeah,
think about it,
so
that
I
you had
don't
to
need,
sort of defend, or not defend, like, get riled up against this opposing view, the indifference, the other sideness of it, like, what?
uh, uh, so I'll start by saying, maybe I'll start in a circular way. Like, yesterday I had this very difficult interaction with someone. I don't want to share the interaction itself, but they walked away and I felt like really shaken up. And then I told myself, I know who I am, I know what I'm worth, and I know what I stand for. And the moment I said those three things to myself, I know who I am, I know what I'm worth, and I know what I stand for, it didn't matter. It was like water off of a duck's back. And the reason I say this is because I don't need Biden, I don't need Eric Adams, I don't need the president of Colombia, I don't need any one of those people to tell me that that's wrong. Rape is wrong, period. Kidnapping is wrong, period. Murdering civilians, is wrong, period. Terrorism is wrong, period. I don't need them. The problem is that you have mindless mobs that need it, because they are looking up to whoever respected authority there is, and saying, what are the red lines? What are the things we shall not cross? And when they look up and they see that the president of the university is unwilling, not that does not, she refuses to set the red line. She single-handedly created a vacuum, a moral vacuum, and into that moral vacuum, all the hatred poured in. Because of her personally not refusing to set those, what I see, senseful lines for discussion.
What are the forces inside of her that help, that allows, that gives her the force to either set it or not set it?
Or around her, not just inside. Like, what gave
yeah,
birth
so
to this?
those are two different questions, very different questions. So the first question, what are the forces inside of her? I don't know, and I do not care. Maybe this is a Jewish thing, maybe this is a Shai Davidai thing, but I don't care what you hold in your heart or in your brain, or what you don't hold in your heart or your brain. I judge you by your actions. And I don't care if you're anti-Semitic, or you're a coward, or you are just plain dumb. I don't
Question
care.
is, what was the forces that propelled her actions? That's what I'm asking you.
Yeah, so I don't know what her personal forces. The outside forces are what I care about. Those are the things that I can change. So you have a university that for decades has been known to harbor anti-Semitism and pro-Hamas, pro-Islamic Jihad rhetoric for decades, right? This is the university, if we go back in time, in 2010 or 2011, would roll the red carpet for Ahmadinejad. It's not that they had to invite him. They invited him. The only institution in the United States, other than the UN, who had to invite him to speak was Columbia University. This is the president of Iran that says that Israel should be eliminated, right? Before that, in 2004, there's a movie called Columbia Unbecoming. You can see it on YouTube. It's 43 minutes, made in 2003, about the anti-Semitic and pro-Hamas professors at Columbia, including the cast of characters we know now, Joseph Mossad, all of his cronies, right? It's part of the institution. and the institution is kind of like playing with matches for years, and now it has a fire. And it's like, oh, we didn't know if matches lead to fire.
No, but why do you think they're doing it? Is it just money? I just read about the network, the funding, a cloud of the Prince of Qatar, right? 700 million to Texas A&M, and other I don't have the exact numbers, but some universities is like close to $1 billion.
I think
in the Northeast, it's $1, $2, $3 billion each, $1 million each. What is it, money?
The problem with the money, the foreign funding of universities, of higher education, is that we don't know, because there is no transparency. Because when you run for office in the United States, there is campaign finance reform where you have to say exactly who's giving you money and for what. Is it earmarked for something? Because if you're going to be in control of this country, we need to know whose payroll are you on. But these universities are controlling the minds of individuals, of the young generation, shaping them, and they have no obligation to tell us who's.
But Shai, even if it's disclosed, okay, we get this money from Qatar, so what's going to happen?
Well, first of all, it's not enough just to tell me getting money from Qatar. I need to know, not just all of us need an education finance reform in which we need to know who in Qatar is paying you. Is it the government?
Okay, let's say we know. Let's say we know who's paying, and we know it's going towards anti-Israel and anti-Jewish stuff. We know that. Now what? You still work there?
I think
a lot of Jews still go there.
I think once the university will be this and other universities will be forced to come out and say who of their professors are on Qatari payroll. No longer a Jewish problem. Americans will wake up, non-Jewish Americans will wake up and realize that this is a Western problem. Qatar is, other than Iran, is the biggest funder of terrorism in the world.
I don't think anyone else is doing what we're doing, and yeah, and that's exactly it. Nobody can comprehend what we're talking about. Who would even say that anti-Semites have anything valuable to say without saying we're anti-Semitic or we're self-hating Jews? But there's something that everybody's missing in this whole picture. And the reason why the solution is so close is because we're not waiting for anyone else to change. We're not waiting for the laws to be enacted. We're not waiting for a new politician to get elected. The answer is way closer than everybody thinks.
Like us, hit the bell thing on the YouTube so you can get a notification when a new episode is up. Well, this is the Jew function, and let's get back to our guest.
Qatar is 330,000 individuals. It controls 11% of the natural gas in the world. It funds Hamas. It funds the Hamas-aligned Al Jazeera. Right? It funds the White House Correspondents. Wait. It funds the White House Correspondents' Dinner. It funds the annual Congress baseball game sponsored by Qatar. Like, Americans need to wake up and say, this is a Western problem.
Well, they paid FIFA millions. Basically, this guy just pays his way.
They didn't pay FIFA millions. They bribed FIFA. And
I want to be nice, you know.
They bribed. I mean, it was shocking. They bribed FIFA. And what FIFA did was give the world this, like, look at this fluffy, beautiful country called Qatar. And like for months, all people were talking about, is it Qatar or Qatar? Qatar or Qatar? Like, no, it's a Hamas funding country. It doesn't matter how you pronounce it.
Okay, so after the World Cup and we knew all that, and after supporting financing the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and after Al Jazeera, and after all these other things, we know, people know.
Once you know, get the money out. Get the money out.
Okay,
even if it means that you cut my salary in half and all of my silent colleagues, cut all of our salaries in half, turn the lights off, but don't let Qatar money buy real estate.
That's not going to happen.
But hold on. Let's say it does happen. But we're talking about a generation of students already. I mean, the people who benefited from this money are already there in office. They're outside in the world. This has been going on for 2 decades. Yes. What are we talking about? I'm asking the bigger question here. What is going on? You're in economics, a business, right? Business
psychology, yeah, psychologist, but yeah.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, Leo, you're gonna love this. Hold on, check this out from Shai's website. You're gonna
Okay.
love this because this is right up our alley.
Shit.
My research examines people's everyday judgments. Okay, hold on. I'm interested in the forces that shape and distort people's subjective perception of the world and their influences on judgments, preferences, and choices.
Exactly. I was just about to riff on that because everybody knows the famous study on how that was surprising to some people, not to us. That, oh, people make decisions based on their feelings, not on their rational. People are not rational creatures. Oh my God, really? Like, I mean, that's what we study is people are emotional creatures. Period. Then for some, they're able to put like a rational story on top or to investigate what they're feeling. But you feel first, and then other things happen. Doesn't matter how you spin it. So I was going to ask, you have all these people in college right now who came out of these colleges who are already harboring these feelings toward Jews, toward Israel. This is like already like a state of the status quo. What are we doing with this? What's
That's
what?
that's the question. That's one of the questions that I just don't have an answer to.
Oh, come on. So Seth,
I
let's say goodbye to this guy.
no. I know it's like what you got the one Israeli that doesn't have an answer to every question. But here's the thing. I was
Anna promised us that he would have the answer when she booked him.
Yeah. I'll tell you this. Um, when it comes to this generation, I really do think that we, and I mean we, it's like I also blame myself, but not just myself, but we as a society, we dropped the ball and we are going to have a corrupt generation. Now, it's not because all young people are corrupt. We also have, if I've been meeting a lot of Jewish high school students and college students, and they are way, way more incredible than any of me and my colleagues have been at their age. So we also have an amazing Jewish generation coming up. But yeah, the people that have closed their hearts to October 7th will never reopen them. There's nothing you or Seth or I can do to go to someone who saw the images of October 7th and said, you know what, I don't care. There's nothing you can do to go and say, I'm going to change your mind. I'm going to make you care. So I am not even focusing on them. I am focusing on making sure that the vast majority of society here in the US, wherever people are, understand that this is evil and this is wrong. And if we don't stop this now, it will be too late. That's my concern.
So what kind of people are holding you up, propping you up, supporting you, showing you love? Like, what is
Amazing.
who is that person?
So obviously my wife, children are the first ones. For me, I do not think that I would have been, and I'm not being hyperbolic, I would not be alive today since October 7th, if not for my children. They gave me a reason to get out of bed every night, every day, and then to keep fighting. And that's it. My family, my friends, but then the amazing Zionist community that has rallied, Jewish and non-Jewish, that has rallied behind me, and complete strangers emailing me on a daily basis. I get dozens and dozens of emails and messages on a daily basis. That adds up. That adds up to thousands and thousands of messages over the past months.
In order to get something such an outpouring of love, there has to be like an equal and opposite something or other that makes something like that happen. So you're probably getting death threats also. I mean, I've gotten death threats just by doing this podcast. So you must be also.
The interesting thing is I did not anticipate the love, and it started with an influx of love. And then all of a sudden, something else I didn't anticipate was the hate. Because I was like, here's my view. You don't know me. How do you feel so strongly about me either way? Get to know me first. I promise you there's something to hate, but get to know me first. Right. So yeah, there's been so much death threats. My wife and I actually went to the NYPD with like screenshots. And the NYPD said, unless they say a specific time, a specific place, and a specific thing they'll do to you, we can't act. And I was
Plus,
like,
when the guy with the knife is standing above you,
yeah.
and then
But they didn't say they'll do it. So it's like, so I was like, whatever. Yeah, it's just a lot of hate, a lot of cyber bullies, real bullies. But over 6 months, when you get, and I don't like the word famous, but when your face becomes known, very quickly, you grow a very thick skin. And that's what I've had to do.
Do you think that there's a way to get that good positive outpouring? Is there another way to generate a good positive outpouring besides something horrible happening?
Yeah, I think so. What one thing that I take, one thing that Theo said in the beginning that I kind of take issue with, and I don't know if this is something you want to talk about or not.
We want
But
to be
you said,
challenged.
We want
If
to talk
we
about
got
anything.
something wrong, we want to know about it, and we want to know quick.
you said, and I'm paraphrasing, but you can quote me, you can quote the direct quote. You said, we've been saying for years, Jewish lack of unity leads to calamity. Right?
Correct.
I see that, and that's a story, by the way. That's a narrative we've been telling ourselves, right? From Mikdash Sheni, like, but
So who's been? What do you mean has been telling us? I haven't heard about it since like only when I started investigating the topic.
no, I
started
mean the whole
seeing
idea
it.
of sinat chinam,
Yeah,
like
Sinat Chinam in the temple, not
right,
all the way up leading to the Holocaust,
Okay, let
including.
him criticize us
right,
first
wait,
and
wait, wait.
then rebut it.
And even if it's true and even if it's not, and I think it's true, I think that is mistaking correlation for causation,
Mm,
and it's putting the blame on the victim.
of course.
Like, if you guys only were united, this would not happen. Who thinks that if we were united, the Holocaust would not have happened? We could have fought back, but do you really think that it would not have
So
happened?
okay, so it's first of all,
Not once you're in Auschwitz, like sitting in a circle praying hard.
yeah,
We're talking about like the 40 years before of what
yeah.
all of the things that.
These events, and this is an important thing. I mean, we won't be able to obviously give like the whole thesis now, but we
Yeah, of
have,
course.
we have podcasts and other material to
I'm plugging
support.
your previous episodes. I'm saying,
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, we are, first of all, we are basing our view on three pillars. So it may be like you said, okay, maybe it's a correlation, not a causation, but when it appears time and time and time and time and time again, you start to doubt that. Maybe we're seeing it wrong, but we're looking at historic patterns. We're looking at quotes from Jewish sages that have been writing about this specifically for
right.
millennia, and you add the network science piece, looking at humanity as a network and the rules of the network governing humanity as well, hubs and nodes and the connection and the relationship between them, and it starts to make sense. Hard to accept because we don't like the idea that somehow I'm responsible for stuff that's happening to me. However, hold on, one more thing. However,
yeah.
we're all adults. You know that if there's a difference between victim blaming and also being responsible for how you behave in a system with laws, right? If you climb a ladder that's has broken rungs and you climb to the second floor and you fall and you break your neck, oh, that's victim blaming. No, dude, you're an idiot, or you didn't relate to the laws properly, and there's consequences. So we're looking at it from this. Actually, we're taking the emotion out of the equation, just saying, look, what if there's just a system here with forces and elements and things that are moving? And yes, it feels very personal and very sticky and emotional. But you know what? There's laws. If you don't behave a certain way, if you're out of harmony with something, stuff is gonna work back to get you.
Completely understand, but let me give you the opposite. If you just
Please.
look at the anti-Semitic rhetoric happening in the United States now, there is the rhetoric that you are suggesting. Like you saw, like last week, there's protests in Israel now. I see as important protests, maybe not in the right time, but I definitely agree with them personally, and no one has to agree with me. This is my personal view. But and then the anti-Semites use this as like, look, the Jews themselves are in disarray. They are not united because they are so horrible and bad they can't even agree. Then that means we're right. But at the same time, there's another anti-Semitic rhetoric that goes like this: look, the Jews are so united and they are conspiring and they're all one cabal. And because they're united, we should destroy them. So the Jews are united, so we should destroy them. Also, the Jews are not united, so
Shai, let's add nuance to both situations.
Yeah, let's add nuance to the confusion. Yeah.
Let's add nuance to it. Okay, so in the first situation, for example, you and a person and their spouse has disagreement. So yeah, it's healthy to have a disagreement, not when the kids are in the room. And if we're on vacation for 2 weeks, we may get along for the entire 2 weeks and deal with it, agree to deal with it when we get home. Now's not the time.
Right.
Okay? One thing.
And we agree not to murder each other. That's also.
Yeah.
Okay. I forgot the second thing. What was the second thing?
That was on Leo. That's not on me.
What was it?
No, well, he said well, either they look at us and they say you're united.
Okay, here's the second thing.
Or you're not united.
Okay, here's the second thing. So let them say whatever they want. And yes, of course, if we need to lawyer up, if we need to bodyguard up, these are just normal things like making our bed. I'm not saying we should be, not in this world. You have to make a bed and do all the normal things, lawyer up, gun up, and all that stuff if you have to. But when we're talking about uniting, like it's uniting in a way that it becomes good for everyone and that all the people around us experience good. It's not uniting at the detriment of anyone else. It means uniting in all of the good stuff that the Jews have between controlling the media and controlling Hollywood and controlling government and controlling all the money, and all the good stuff that we have. I'm kind of saying that tongue in cheek. Between all the good stuff and smart people we have in our ranks, and all the goodwill and all of the humor and all of the friends and all of the abilities, if we made something really great for the benefit of everyone, that would be a real unity. Doesn't mean unity that people look at us and hate us for it. It means we make something that's so great that everyone enjoys it. And if people are going to talk about us,
wants to emulate it.
I like that phrasing, because this is unity in order to create, not unity in order to evade calamity. And I think
that's exactly. Hold on.
Leo, hold on. We're getting.
I want to
go ahead, Leo. I actually want to hear because
he's a smart guy. I don't want to. I want him to go to the deeper.
I get to hear you all the time. I only get to hear Shai for like 1 hour.
I know. No, I'll shut up. I promise. No, but he's hitting all the right points. We say it all the time. We uniting when the wolves are already around you and the sheep unite. That's on the animate level. That's animals do that. We know how to do it. Every human does it instinctively, right? We all get. That's natural. We're talking about uniting before the wolves come, like a human, like a choosing. I'm choosing to unite with you, even though I disagree with your opinion.
Let's choose to make something amazing together.
Exactly. I choose to be an example to someone else, like you choose to, to be in love with your wife for the sake of the kids many times, right? If you're an advanced enough human, right? If you don't just give in to every desire and every fit of anger, but in a sense, you're always trying to be that example to your kids, right? And when you make that effort to unite above the differences, somehow you discover that a new bond is created, a stronger bond. This is not just hey, I love you, I like you, you like me, let's be together. It's more like, I don't agree with everything that's in you. I actually even hate some of the things that but I choose to love something deeper and higher, and I choose to focus on the connection.
I agree. The term I like, and I'm sorry, I'm going to say it in Hebrew. I don't actually know how you say it in English, but is shotfut goral, right?
Like brothers in fate.
It's like sharing a fate and
destiny.
Right. To me that's the unity that I look for. There are many factions in the Jewish world that I deeply disagree with on a theistic level, a political level, a value level, but I will always remember and hold to heart the fact that we share the same fate. We are shutafim lagoral. And that from that point comes this idea of Kol Yisrael Arevim ze laze.
Mutual guarantee, yep.
It's this idea that it doesn't say all Israel chaverim ze laze. It's not we're all friends. Screw friends. I need guarantors, right? I need someone when I go get a mortgage that someone signs on it. And the same thing, we guarantee each other. And for me, that's the unity. That when I walk in the street, I love this. In New York City, I'm going to get a Chabad guy telling me, hey, Tzaddik, you want to put, but first they ask me, like, are you Jewish? Right? And, and it's like, I show him my profile, like, of course I'm Jewish. But like,
of course I'm Jewish.
My wife used to tell them no, because she didn't want to hassle. And I told her, you do whatever you want. But when you're next to our kids, you tell them yes. right? Because we don't hide the fact from Jews, from non-Jews and from Jews. So I tell them, yes, I'm Jewish, but no, I'm not going to put tefillin. But yes, I'm going to spend time and argue with you about this because I respect you and you're part of who I am. Right? I'm not going to try to convince you, and I'm not going to be able to convince you, but I'm going to give you the respect of talking with you about this. Right?
Beautiful.
For me, that's the view of unity that I espouse, and that's the kind of thing that I'm trying to push right now. Because so one thing that I've been talking a lot with a lot of people about everything that's happening on campuses, and one of the questions, because it's an election year, is like, okay, so what do we do? Who do we vote for? And I tell everybody, we do not get dragged into politics. Politics is a divisive game, and this is their way to separate the Jewish power into at least two factions. And this is above politics. You personally vote for who you personally believe will be better for the survival of your people. And I don't care who it is.
So simple, so great. Yeah, I wish.
We are not going into this. We are not going into politics here.
I wish you could bring this to Israel. I wish you could bring this ideas to Israel now. We need it. We're kind of dying here, actually, a little bit. Jew Function is really it's a desperate attempt to change something about the rise in anti-Semitism that doesn't seem to go away, and looking at history usually ends with something terrible before we reach relative quiet again. But we don't want to reach something terrible. We want to do it now. So that's why we're doing this podcast. And if you like this, also consider leaving a small contribution on our Patreon channel. Right. We both have day jobs, by the way, so we're not hoping to make money from this. We're hoping to see some change of heart.
Any funds are used to get this out there, to get this to people. We consider this the same way you go out every day to get money to feed your family, put a roof over your head. This is also critically important to our future, to our safety, to a good world, not only for Jews, but for everyone.
Well, this is the Jew Function, and let's get back to our guest. We're kind of dying here, actually, a little bit.
It's a problem, and I'll be honest with you. Like when I was very active and I'm planning to be active in the protests for democracy, and I did it out of love, but very quickly it developed not into hate but into anger, and I blame myself, and I don't like that. When I go back to protesting once the war is over, it will be out of love again, out of love for the grander idea.
But by the way,
if I disagree with someone.
By the way, the protests have started, but you're late. So
no, I know, but not that. I'm of two minds of the current protests. I believe I wholeheartedly believe in the message. But I'm not 100% sure yet, and I can't say that I am. It pains me because I want to be able to say, yeah, go fight everybody, but it's like I'm not 100% sure yet.
So this place of us having different feelings, even disgust or opposites or whatever around like this thing you're talking about, but the ability, meaning that the different sides of these arguments, whatever, but the ability to stay in the room together and talk is this magic third line, this magic element, like Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, like this third thing. It's not the left and it's not the right, I said it a few times here, but that the Muslims have Friday and the Christians have Sunday, and we're like this middle place. We're not the right and we're not the left. We have to be this people.
Got it all wrong, Seth. We had Saturday, then the Christians had made Sunday, and when the Muslims had Friday.
Of course.
Yes. But I just meant that that our job is to be this this transition between the creator and the world, between the right and the left, and because whether we're communists or whether we're capitalists, it doesn't matter which side we're on. It's not right. The lefties don't like us. The righties don't like us, right? So, but this quality that you're talking about, that I have my own opinion, but I'm doing it from love and I'm willing to be engaged on somewhere else. This is like kind of reminds me of like the sages of the Talmud. You know, like they had all these different opinions, but there was this something else that held the whole thing together and pulled the whole thing forward. This
Yeah,
has a lot. Yeah, go ahead.
it ties into some of my research. I don't want to get too nerd out here,
No,
but
no, nerd
for the
away.
past several years, I've been studying this idea called zero-sum beliefs, right? Zero-sum belief is the idea that people walk around life thinking that somebody else's gain is their loss, right? That in order for someone to win, someone else has to lose, right? And you see it person to person, like in negotiations. When I teach negotiations, we talk a lot about this. You don't have to, lose in order the other person doesn't have to lose for you to succeed. You can all create value together. You see it in groups. People think like, oh, if we give women more rights, then men have less rights. It's like, no, we can all have more rights. You see it in countries. You see it in all over the world, right? And one of my recent studies has shown that the more people believe that politics is zero sum, that for one side to win and get their way, the other side has to lose, the more they believe that, the less they're willing to engage in political conversation, and the more they avoided talking with other people. So, and by the way, we did the study both in the US and in Israel before the 2022 elections, November 1st, 2022. So the idea, what you're saying, like the third way, in the Eastern philosophies, it's called the middle way. I call it non-zero sum, just as a nerd. This idea that we can take two things that seem like they're mutually exclusive and actually find the place where they are not mutually exclusive, they're compatible with each other, and construct something bigger, create value that at least one side benefits, if not both of them.
In your research, what gets in the way of achieving that state?
Number one is a sense of threat. When you feel threatened, and this could be realistic threat, like threat to your livelihood, to your life, or symbolic threat, like threat to like the group that you identify with. That's one thing. The second thing is scarcity, right? That when you actually live in a society that is scarce, like the scarcity can be, again, it can be an economic scarcity, like poverty. It can also be an ideological scarcity, right? In Columbia University right now, you have no diversity of opinion. You have shades of left, from moderate left, that's where I stand, I guess, to extreme radical Hamas is not as good as Islamic Jihad kind of leftist.
What
You don't have
stands
the
in
other
the
side, so you don't have this idea that like there's something to be built by exchange of ideas, exchange of values.
what stands in the way of this? What did you call it?
Scarcity, ideological.
No. What did you call it when it
No,
successfully happens?
Oh,
the
non-zero sum.
non-zero
The
sum.
non Okay, so what stands in the way of non-zero sum is I think you said fear and scarcity.
Well, threat and scarcity.
Feeling
Yeah.
of threat, yeah.
Threat and scarcity. So if you manage, if we have a solution for threat and scarcity, then people would be more apt to get into these other kind of relationships.
Yes.
Can you say
So
that?
when you go, so I'll give you an example of a study we ran a few years ago. I haven't thought about it in a while, but in the United States, especially after the 2016 election, there's this rhetoric, this idea that like China wins, we lose, right? China is taking your jobs. China is taking your money. And that is objectively false, right? If you like trade, or especially international trade, we've known, the economists have known since Adam Smith, is non-zero sum. It creates value. Is the value like distributed equally in both sides? No. Does everyone benefit? No. But overall, society gains, right? Now, what we found is people believe that, but China gains it. I mean, we studied Americans. They believe China gains at their advance. But if we told them a few facts about the US and China and making them feel that the US is not really threatened by China. Yes, China has like, a military of 1 million something people, but it only has like one airplane carrier, where the US has like dozens and dozens. All of a sudden, people feel less threatened by China. And because they feel less threatened, they felt more open to considering ways where working with China can benefit both sides.
People
We
need
will,
to feel less threatened.
Yes.
no,
Oh,
I wanna just add to that. We have seen that for a long time already. Humanity has access to all the resources it needs to actually clothe and feed everyone on this planet, really, literally. There's no scarcity of the basic resources for life when everybody lives a normal lifestyle, not excessively consumed, not hoarding, not right, all that stuff. But just so what's preventing us from, you know, from
Yeah,
doing
what
that even on that level? Just remove that
you're
threat.
absolutely right. So when I say scarcity, I need to also note that what's important is your personal experiences of scarcity, right? So yeah, the world, there's all the food that you want in the world, but for someone, the working poor in the United States, they don't feel that. That's not their experience. That's not their day-to-day life. So their personal experience is an experience you cannot doubt of actual scarcity.
So that's my question. Why do we do it to each other as people, as human? It's not the old world. The world has become very small. It feels very small. You can fly all around it. You can talk to anyone wherever you want. Why do we keep behaving as if it's like two
Yeah,
competing tribes fighting for the one well of water or something?
and
I
why is
mean,
the news constantly putting fear into everyone
Yeah.
from the moment you wake up until the moment you go to bed? So really, if in order to have the kind of relationships that are good that you said, we need to get rid of scarcity and get rid of fear and threat, and the whole life is just set up on the opposite.
well, the news, the media, that's an easy answer. So I'll answer this one first, which is like, I mean, look, it's if it bleeds, if it bleeds, it leads. That's how they make money. What they need to do is keep eyeballs on the screen. So when you see an advertisement, then they get paid by the advertisers. That's it. The New York Times doesn't care about the truth to the extent that, as a truth as the objective. They care about selling ad space while telling stories about the truth. And that's the thing. And if the truth is a Labrador had 3 puppies and they're all beautiful, then the New York Times won't report it. But if the truth is a Labrador had 3 puppies and they all died at birth because of some genetic mutation, then the New York Times will write it because it will sell advertisement. And that's true for any news outlet. So that's why the media pushes it. But in terms of society, why we experience this, I don't know. I mean, so Yuval Noah Harari has this whole theory about the narratives we tell ourselves and how everything is a constructed narrative. That makes a lot of sense. The other thing is the problem with power. People in power typically don't give up power very easily. And once you have even, 1 sack of grains more than your neighbor, you're going to work to keep that sack of grain and maybe also get a second sack of grains and then a third. Yeah.
So we actually, you're describing all the points that we again, interestingly, Jewish sages have written about, and that they have to do with human nature. Narrative is maybe it was a later construct on top of that, but first there was human nature. First, I
Right.
feel something, then comes the story that I'll tell myself. So the feeling is that I'm an egoist by birth. That's just my program. I want to receive all the pleasure I can, and with minimum effort or minimum pain or minimum payment. Okay, that's kind of the formula that I run on. Now, if your desires are average, then you probably don't harm that many people on the way to achieving what you want, and you also abide by the laws of society, and so society sort of carries itself, right? But there's a lot of people whose desires are really excessive, and they also have the means, and they operate sort of above the regular envelope of society, and they keep adding this chaotic element to the system. They keep going for oh, food, more food, right? Sex, more sex, money, more money, honor, more honor, power, more power, right? Because that formula doesn't have an end, a kill switch. It's basically
I
it
I
will keep
agree.
going,
I agree with you, and I agree, and it's also backed by research. The
right?
only thing that I would say that the only nuance I would add, it's not that some of us are born with average desires and others are born with excessive desires. All of us have this tendency for hedonic adaptation, right? So there's a famous psychologist called Philip Brickman who coined the idea of the hedonic treadmill,
Yeah.
right? We're running on a treadmill and we have average desires. And then we gain those desires. We keep running on. Now the goalposts have shifted. We keep running on the treadmill. Now we want bigger and bigger and bigger desires. And that's why we cannot sustain satisfaction. Do you know what happened to Philip Brickman?
What happens to him? No, he dies on a
He
treadmill.
he threw himself off a building in University of Michigan. He killed himself 3 years after publishing that paper.
I can't blame him. By the way,
And
Jews have a saying, right? "אין אדם נפטר מהעולם וחצי תאוותו בידו." In English, right? You leave the world only half satisfied, because again, that's a feature of that desire to receive pleasure. It can the minute it gets fulfillment, it now wants more in order to feel the same level of satisfaction, right? You make your first $1,000, it's great, but the next 1,000, not as great. You need 2,000 to feel the same level, right? Plus, add on top of that social influence. So if you made it, I made 1,000, you made 2,000, I'm not happy. And it's that the research has been done. You know that research. I'd rather make less money in a place where others make less than me than make more money in a place where others make more than me, right?
right,
So,
exactly. But the thing that I would say is there's a way off. There's a way off the treadmill, which
okay,
is you don't. It's not about chasing satisfaction or hedonism. You can chase meaning. You've never had someone say like, you know what? Now that I have a lot of meaning in life, I need more meaning. That's not a thing we experience, right? Meaning and especially meaningful relationships is something that once we gain them, we don't get adapted to them. At least there's no evidence where we get adapted to them very as quickly and as readily as for the other things, right? It's not like, you know what? Yeah, last night I had an amazing conversation, a meaningful conversation with my wife, with Yarden. Now I need it to be extra special for me to enjoy. Like, no, like I wish we just have the same conversation again for the rest of my life.
so let's add another layer to what you just said, because Seth and I were all with you on the meaning side. But I think the last bit that you said, I think, is the thing that we tend to ignore, and that is the connection that you actually make with someone else. That's the place where your non-zero sum game can happen, because there's another famous Jewish saying, not incidentally, but right, that if you have a candle and I light my candle from yours, your candle doesn't miss the light, right?
Right.
And our whole thing, everything we've been saying is really comes down to that. We have the ability to do it. We have the ability to leave that treadmill, not to deny pleasure, actually get higher pleasure and endless pleasure. And it lies in, instead of trying to fill my little tiny vessel of desire by relating to someone else and they're relating to me, that whole mutual guarantee thing as well, right? When we do that, that is endless, because now my vessel is used to, it overflows and goes to someone else, and his overflows and goes to someone else. There's like an endless feedback, and the whole thing is connected to an even higher source.
Right.
So
So I
there's
don't know about
something.
the higher source. That's where you lose me.
No,
But
just
I'm
laws of
with
nature.
you.
No, just laws of
Yeah.
nature. Law of
If
conservation
you
of energy.
took
There's no
two businesses and did an M&A, and all of a sudden there's some new thing that happens because of the
emergence.
synergy.
Right.
Yeah,
Right?
emergence. Yeah.
I mean,
So
the thing I'm saying is like, one of the things since I've become like very vocal and very quickly, I've always been vocal, but no one listened. And all of a sudden people are listening. And, people have this misconception that because I'm the one speaking out, that I'm the only one who does things at Columbia. And I tell them, no, there are dozens and dozens of Jewish and Israeli professors and students and staff behind the scenes. And I could not be on front stage if there weren't so many people behind the scenes. And they could not be behind the scenes if there wasn't anyone on the stage. right? So we work together and we need each other. And you know, a lot of people are trying to get me like, what's the better way to fight the university, from the inside or from the outside? I was like, that's a stupid question. You know, the best thing is to do something. And you can fight from the outside, from the inside, together. It doesn't matter. We're not taking away from one or the other. And unfortunately, there are some people that are engaging in pulling down Jews right now. This Jew should be pulled down, and that Jew and I'm like, I'm not playing that game, except with one exception, and I can talk about that one exception. But in general,
I mean,
like,
there's Jews talking about pulling down other Jews.
yeah, like they're not active enough. They're not saying the right things, and it's like, no, we're all doing our best in this horrible situation, and we should all garner respect. And I would say the one thing that I do have a caveat is for people with famous people with huge platforms who have made their career on, peddling Jewish stereotypes and being the Jew in movies, the Jew in TV, and them not speaking out, just like it burns my insides. But other than them, I
Like
think
Larry David,
to figure out.
like Larry David or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Oh,
mean,
he hasn't come out to.
I mean, and people, when I say that, people say, oh, you don't know what he does behind the scenes. And I was like, you're right, I don't know, and I don't care. He has a huge platform and he's made a career out of being Jewish. And by the way, I love him. He's genius. I will always enjoy his show. But but come on, man. Like you're going on Jimmy Kimmel, you're going on that Jimmy Fallon guy, you're going everywhere. Wear a pin for the hostages. That's all I'm asking. So that they will then ask you, what's that pin? And then you'll explain. Do something. But
So Shai, I didn't notice that time is flying, and we really got to kind of bring this home. And we may have to talk again because it feels like, with all your
yeah,
background.
I tend to ramble, and so do you.
No,
So
no, no, no.
yeah,
Listen,
it's
this is
this
a
is
show
not zero
for
sum.
it's a show for ramblers. It's okay. People who listen, they come for the rambling. But we also want to try to make it somewhat, I don't want to say, all out practical, but really something people can really take to their day, maybe, because I think, let's bring it back to the Jews. I think that everything that we discussed, all these points that we touched upon that were so natural to you, like you didn't have to think too much about those things. You sort of, no, it's my feeling, and that's how I feel. All these things that you're saying, I guarantee to you that they're not natural to other people. Definitely not non-Jews. There are other people who are not Jews and they have that, but we didn't get to talk about them. But in general, this is the scarcity. People don't have that, and we claim that if we did a better job between us at lifting those things to the surface, right, really being a good example, people would want to bring that into their lives. Like they would look up to Jews in a positive way, not in a, oh, they're conspiring against me. Because the one thing we haven't done is we've been called a monolith. Yes, people say we're united against or for whatever, but we've never actually in modern times practiced this non-zero sum relationship, this love above everything, this complete, like,
Where we become known for just doing good to others.
Yeah.
That's what we're known for. When people think of Jews, it's like, oh, those guys take care of everyone. Those guys are good to everyone. Those guys help others.
And
Those
we're not
guys
that. And we're not that right now. Right now, at this point in time,
I disagree. I really disagree. Here's something I promise to you. Every one of these pro-Hamasnik, people on campuses throughout the US shouting, down with Israel, down with the USA, praise the Houthis, whatever imbecile stuff they're shouting. I am pretty sure that on each and every one of those people in their bookcase, you will find People's History of the United States of America, right? That's like the book that really like shook people's perceptions of history. And Columbus was not a right person. It's like, no duh, but who wrote that book? Howard Zinn, a Jew famous for doing good, fighting, shoulder to shoulder in the civil rights movement with non-Jews, right? It's not that they don't know that we do good, it's they don't care and they don't want to acknowledge that.
No, this is where I will disagree with you. individually, there are some amazing Jews out there. That individual contribution has shaped the world positively for the good. Walking, Jews were always at the forefront of the human rights movement, the liberal movement, for sure. There's no question. And contribution to science and to literature and you name it. And as Seth said in the beginning, we were sitting on all the major intersections. We can really do even more good if we just want it. But collectively, to each other, we're not doing that. We're not Howard Zinn. We're not writing big books. I'm talking about this thing that we have here. I want to have that with every living Jew around, and we can do it with other Jews. It's possible.
Again, like maybe I'm being too optimistic. I don't want to be Pollyannish, but think about myself for a second. And no one, and really, like, not false humility, and nobody speaks up on the main campus of Columbia University. 30 people were in attendance. 30 people. That video that you played was seen by 15 million people in my modest estimate. That's because the Jewish people.
Okay, so maybe it's happening in a few. Good. If we're wrong, or not if we're wrong, if we just didn't see it all happening enough yet, so we're happy. We're not going to debate that it's happening. That's it then. That thing that has happened for you needs to happen more.
So I think we should be thinking about is this, which is like, when something doesn't work in a company, right? I'm in a business school, I have to do that thing. But, when something doesn't work in a company, you can go and look at, like, why is that department not working well? Or you can go and find the department that's doing amazing things and say, why is that department working so well, right? So we need to focus on the things where the Jewish people are collected and united. 5 billion Israeli shekels were donated by the Jewish diaspora in like 3 months from October 7th to the end of the 2023, right? How did we do that? Let's replicate that now in the arts. Let's replicate that right now in politics. Let's replicate that right now in just decent human interactions. We need to figure out like those things because every Jewish person I've been talking with, and I've been talking to many people, there's a will, there's a desire, and everyone's looking for the Mashiach. Everyone's looking for a hero. And I keep telling them there are no heroes. Heroes were, by the way, invented by Jews. The superhero idea was invented by Jews. There are no heroes. If you're looking for a hero, look in the mirror and see, maybe you'll find one. And that's the kind of thing that the kind of ideas that I'm trying to push. If we're all heroes, then we can really connect and create a league of heroes kind of thing.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. Where do we sign up?
I'll buy that. I'll buy that.
We've given the world a lot of great things. We gave him monotheism. We gave him the idea of diaspora.
We have everything. I listen. You don't have to convince us. We have all the lists, man. We know.
I'm telling it to your listeners. I don't want them to be depressed. I mean,
listeners know
because the world sucks. But
I want people eventually to say, I don't know any Nobel Prize winners. I don't know any big inventors. I don't know any Israeli startups, but I know the Jewish heart. That's what I feel like it's time for humanity to have that. That's what the world needs. World doesn't need more startups or things like that. I mean, it needs here and there tactically, but what the world needs, if you look around, is to get to this beautiful situation you described. I don't know any startup that will get the world to that place you described, except a change in heart. That's what I want. I think Jews can do it. I think Jews are the only people who were able to do it, who have done it before one time. And we have to remember how to do it again and do it. And that's all the time we have for today. Again, Shai Davidai, thank you very much for.
Thank you. Really good to meet you.
Making time in between all the death threats and your insane popularity to be with us and talk about this. We need more people like you, as you said.
I guess we need more people like you. This is one of the most amazing conversations I've had in weeks. So thank you.
Wow. Thank you. We appreciate the compliment, and we'd love to have you again for more conversation or maybe a panel. We're working on it. I also want to say in this instance to our viewers that we're going to start a new mini series on Jewish self-hatred. We got a great new mystery book that we're going to reveal in the process, and it's going to be interesting. I don't know if fun, but it's going to be interesting. And
you should definitely have that, because I don't believe in Jewish self-hate. I have a whole take on that.
Good. So maybe we'll be honored for that as well. and like. Actually, you can't like. I have to stop saying like because there's no more like button on YouTube. I'm so missed the boat on that. But watch the videos.
2x the ending here. Let's go.
Exactly. Watch the videos. Double tap on Instagram and TikTok. Comment. Obviously, share it. Join the conversation. Leave a review. Don't be so stingy. And we'll see you here next on the next Jew function. Thank you, Shai, Seth.
Bye, guys.
And we're out. Have a great day, everyone.